Okay, let me just like settle myself, right? Like I'm asking myself to feel grounded in my body because so much of this conversation today, I feel like is not even coming from me, Molly. I feel like it's being asked of me to have with you today. And it feels big in a way that I'm not going to try and articulate. Sometimes I feel like when I feel something big coming through me, I start talking as a way to kind of like justify the intensity of what I feel coming forward. Does that make sense?
Perfect sense. And I love that because I have a really excited feeling too. So um, even if the words don't resonate with people, the vibration of what we're saying will get into their system and give them the necessary nuggets or upgrades of their cells that they need. So let's go.
Fuck. Upgrades in your cells. That's exactly what I'm looking for in terms of what I believe is really important for us to focus on, not just in this conversation, um, but in what we are trying to transmute and share.
Mm-hmm.
The whole world, right, is upside down.
Mm-hmm.
But when I say that out loud, I actually think the world is as it has always been. And it's just we have shifted our focus and attention to certain things that are occurring for people. And my conversation with my community this week in particular has been that thinking globally, of course, is important, but we need to act locally. And when I say that, I mean take full accountability and responsibility for the way that you are treating the person next to you. Start there. I went to a birthday party on the weekend, and it was not for me or for a friend of mine. It was actually for a friend of my son's who's 4 years old. And so I took my son to this birthday party, and he's in daycare. And so you don't have much of an opportunity to meet many of the other parents because daycare drop-offs are at different times. You might quickly say hello to someone. Connections and relationships aren't really formed at daycare drop-offs. So I show up to this party and I have to spend the next 90 minutes to 2 hours with a group of people that I don't know. Now, most of the women within that group, they already knew each other, had some sort of connection. I'm not from here. That's been the story of my life, Molly, right? I'm not from here. I'm new here. And I just felt the way that I was positioned as an outsider and that space wasn't held for me. Nobody was really interested in allowing me to kind of express who I was and what I could share and the way I could contribute to conversation. And it felt really isolating. I felt all of those feelings, high school Lena came through and was having her moment of, oh, everyone's so awful.
Which
and I really,
fair enough, by the way. And I feel like we think it finishes at high school, but a lot of my friends who are mums have said the exact same thing that you said to me many times over. So it's interesting that, you felt that. Sorry, continue. I just wanted to validate what you were saying.
Thank you. I appreciate that. And so I came away from that experience and I felt like it gave me a beautiful opportunity to remember what it feels like to not feel seen, to not feel heard, to not feel supported, and how important it actually is for me in my life to be a person that holds space for others, and not in the woo sense of that word, but to be a person that actually exists to empower other people. And I do that in a lot of ways, and that is my focus at the moment in my life. And I've been sharing outwardly some of the things that I have started doing locally that I had kind of kept to myself. And I don't know why we feel like we have to be really humble and almost secretive in the way that we're trying to activate a sense of like contribution. So two of the things that I have done in the last kind of 6 months, my husband and I have decided that we donate a portion of our income to charity. We've committed to a certain charity and we will do that forever. So that's not like a portion of our profit, it's a portion of our income goes to a certain charity. And let me just say, it's not a lot. We actually can't afford a lot, but the intention is there. And we just decided that if everybody waits to have some like great contribution to make, no contribution is made. And the second thing that we are currently in the process of is we are becoming accredited to be foster carers. So we're going to open our home, hopefully, to children and families that need our support. And so I share that because I think it's two kind of simple things that I've been able to activate within myself. And I just want to say, when I talk about taking responsibility, it's because I am actually fucking taking responsibility for myself.
And you are leading by example. And you're not saying that people have to go out and do the exact same thing that you're doing. However, you are hopefully a mirror to people for them to activate something within them that works for their situation, to do something of a similar thing. It's not bragging. You're allowed to share your story, and it is inspiring. And I hope more people stand up and say this. And I feel like we would be surprised almost at how many people are doing small little things like that. And if anything, it could just start a snowball effect to encourage more people. So speak. Speak.
The reason
and thank you as well. Thank you so much. Like, what a gift to be able to inspire people like that.
The reason that I wanted to open this conversation with you today is that I speak a lot about our contribution and the impact that we can make with our lives, with our being, with our energy, with our focus. But I think the thing that is required and is necessary before we can even do that is the way that we relate to ourselves, the way potentially that we connect to divinity, to source energy. And I feel like you are a wonderful person for me to invite to speak on the way that we can begin to really just empower ourselves to truly believe in the necessity of our own being, our connection to source energy, how we can even begin to develop a meaningful relationship with something beyond us, and all of the juicy goodness that I feel like will just come through you as I ask you to speak in this space.
Totally. So I feel your connection with something bigger is basically at the chorus level just your connection to yourself. Because if you want to get like real into it, we're everything. We are everything. Like, we can be God, we can be, the angels, the universe, whatever. Like we are all of that. Like, when you realize that you have everything inside you to make changes and make moves and do things, like, you realize how powerful you really are. So I believe your connection to everything else starts with the connection to you first and foremost. So if this is just something that I say to everyone, if you're starting out in this space and you have no idea like where to even begin, I think the most basic thing a person can do before like going and doing 5 a day breathwork course, and throwing themselves into like, sound healings like every day. You don't like, yes, great. If you want to do that, totally go for it. But the most basic, simple thing you can do is before you start your day, before you give attention to anybody else, you check in with you first and foremost, and genuinely take some breaths, put your hand on your heart and ask yourself how you're doing. Become aware of what's really going on. And as a result of just checking in with yourself, if you are doing this constantly over time, it's like a muscle, and you start to build up self-awareness, you start to build up your intuition, you start to have such a relationship with your innermost self and your body that if you keep doing it and stay consistent of checking in with yourself first and foremost, after 6 months, 12 months, like 3 weeks even, you'll get to a point when you know something isn't quite right, and you become so hyper aware that you can take the muscle that you're building out into the real world and start to really just no, well, question things, like not take things for face value. And I just feel like that's a good place to start, because you, for example, what works for you and what works for me could be two separate things. And also, meditation might work for me to get in touch with myself for 3 months, but then I might go off it. Like, I never want to put myself in a box, right? But if I check in with myself at the start of the day, I can ask myself questions like that. Molly, what do you need to be connected to yourself today? What do you need to stay grounded today? How do you want your day to go? Like, do you need to be a boss bitch today and have things in order? Let's plan it out. If you don't need to be a boss bitch today, what can you do for your soul today? Like, do you want to have a dance? Let's have a dance. It's just having a conversation with you first and foremost. And then I believe it's a muscle. And from there, you, as I said, you become hyper aware of everything that's going on, and it just builds and builds and builds until magical things start to happen, I guess. But that's the basic starting point, which I think is so, so important.
I'd love to ask you what you think about people almost bypassing that part of it, and almost like the responsibility they have to take for themselves by going to things like the retreats or doing the classes, or, you know, just using a mentor or a guide or somebody like that to kind of do the work for them almost.
Totally. Everyone's on their own journey, and that's fine. But there is a lot of people that are spiritually bypassing, because sometimes it's really hard to actually sit with yourself and see what's going on. The only reason why I preach this, for lack of a better word, is because I know what's happened by me sitting with myself every single day in the darkest of darkest moments. Like, not, you know, I'm surprised I survived, to be perfectly honest. And, you know, I know that by me sitting with that and working through that, like, I can see the light at the end of the tunnel of the tools and the connection that I have to something outside of myself that's so much bigger. So that is why I preach it. If people aren't ready to truly face their own shit, that's okay. That's okay. But you kind of get to a point when you're sick of your own shit. And when everyone's point is different. Everyone's point is different. You might need a tragedy to happen. You might just be sick of it one day. Like, it's fine, but people have to get to that point by themselves. It's not really our responsibility to be like, you've got to do this, but we can lead by example. And we can inspire, like what you're doing with your community. You can lead by example and you can inspire. If people want to go down that road, awesome. If they don't, no problem. But I only preach, as I said, because I have seen the effects and I know how much better people can feel and how much bigger their life could be if they tapped into all of themselves.
As you say that, I think of courage. And I think that sometimes we think being courageous is this like outward, really loud expression. Like, I think like Mel Gibson in Braveheart, you know, that kind of visual of courage. And I think what I have found to be true for myself is that our courage is actually found in those quiet moments, and it's those drops of clarity. And it's that the ability to actually be with all of ourselves.
Totally. Courage, it comes in many forms. And so this is like something that I say to people, you know, some days you might need a day where you're in bed and you don't have the courage to get up. And I like have many of those days, still do. But I allow it now without guilt. And I give myself the day because I understand the ebb and flow of life now. I know nothing lasts forever, so I can just hold myself in the space of needing a day. However, if it gets to the second day, it's probably you get better as you go. I don't think I get to the second day now. I think I am up and about, but like back when I was really going through some tough times, it would get to the second day and I would have to find courage within to get up and have a shower or to just get up, basically. And I think there's so many different layers of courage that sometimes just getting up is courage for some people. But if there's one thing that I could just really just hope people could find the courage to do, is to find the discipline to check in with themselves every morning. That will be the most rewarding form of courage that you if you just apply that, I know it will be worth it.
I remember a period of my life that getting out of bed felt like the impossible task. Facing the world seemed like something that I just did not want to do. And I would just require of myself to just get up and go for the walk, get out of the bed that I was in, get out of the environment that I was in, step out into the world at a time that it felt safer. So I'd go early in the morning where I probably wasn't going to bump into anybody, and go for my walk. And I would promise myself, if at the end of the walk you want to get back into bed and that's day done, you can have that. And I won't ask anything else of you. Just half an hour, get outside, breathe, see that the world exists beyond what is occurring within your mind right now. And can I tell you, probably 70% of the time, just that was enough. It wasn't like I came back and celebrated life all of a sudden, but it was enough. It was enough to keep me up a little longer. Yeah. And so I think sometimes just having that exactly what you said, the discipline to require something of yourself that will change your state, it is
exactly 100% applied over time. It will do something. But then also understanding the ebb and flows of life. But sometimes when you're so deep in that funk, you don't think it's ever going to end. So I just want to remind people, by finding the courage to check in with yourself every single day, for you to get up and just go for that walk every single day. It's building a muscle. You don't go to the gym and do booty once and then you walk out with a booty and you're like, what? That just doesn't happen. You have to constantly, keep at it. And that's the same with this mental muscle. You just kind of have to keep at it. But eventually, slowly and subtly, changes will start to happen. And I think what we're talking about here is people who have really hit rock bottom. And then if you go to the other end of the spectrum, maybe where I'm at now, personally, I'm in a really good space. I'm really peaceful. However, I'm still doing something every morning to apply this courage every day to check in with myself. And as a result of doing that, what I'm opening up is it's crazy. I'm opening up so many multidimensional aspects of me. That's one extreme to the other. And then there's stuff in the middle as well. You, by doing this, not only do you get yourself out of the darkest funk of all time, you can also tap into your intuition. So you have a clear connection with, your team, your spirit team, the universe, something bigger than you. So you know what way to go, you know what way to turn. It's like just having a superpower. And we all have it.
I want to ask you a question straight after this, but I just want to make the point for anybody listening. I think it's so easy to look at people that are presenting the things that they do that support themselves and to think it's so easy for them. They're so motivated. They've got their shit together. They've found a rhythm in their being that allows them to do this. And I would say, 99.9% of people that you see that are disciplined and devoted to their daily practice don't do that because it's simply been gifted to them. They do that because they have had to. And if you look closer and if you ask the right questions and if they are willing to kind of unlayer and unravel and reveal more of their story, you will see that the success, for lack of a better word, or the feeling, the vibration that they are kind of choosing for themselves and cultivating for themselves has been a choice because they have experienced another way of being.
100%. And now I wouldn't have it any other way. And what I want to say, because like morning routine, a lot of people like think that's quite masculine and quite rigid, like blah, blah, blah. I'm a very feminine woman, very feminine. But I allow myself that masculine discipline of a morning, and it's just a time. It's just a time I block out, whether that's 1 minute, 20 minutes, an hour, however much time I have, I block myself out there. But within that time frame, it's feminine. It's whatever flows through me. It's whatever I need to do. And because I'm so connected, I can hear and ask myself what it is I want in that moment.
I'm smiling and nodding because yes to all of that. I feel the same. I have always said that the way that I can depend on at least my morning to have the same structure allows me to go into the day with more trust and flow and ease, because there is at least something that feels solid. My mornings are my anchor, I think. And from that place, I feel like I'm able to be more fluid. I say the same about boxing. So my husband and I own a boxing gym. And whenever anybody sees me, I post a lot of like myself just going wild on the boxing bag. It is a very fierce, fiery energy coming through. And I think the assumption is that is who I am 24 hours of the day, that I must be this like, intense energy. And it's quite the opposite, really. Like I go to the bag to let that part of me have the place and space and context to come forward so that I can go into the rest of the day without that energy that's kind of bubbling up below the surface.
Brilliant. Yeah. I love that. And it's what I love is, and what I think is important for all women to understand, is we don't have to label ourselves of being a certain way all the time. Like I am 50 million people in a day. Like, sometimes I'm fierce. Sometimes I'm this cute little innocent damsel in distress. Sometimes I don't have my shit together, but other days I do. And, sometimes I'm wild and I want to punch and I want to do like cardio and be crazy, but then other times I want to do yoga and flow. But I never put myself in that one box to be like, oh, well, that's who I am. And I guess just with you saying the thing about the boxing and then how you're not like that, I just want to take this opportunity to remind women to not completely put yourself in a box and allow yourself to express yourself, the million different personalities you have in a day, because that is the beauty of being a woman.
It's fun, right? It's so fun when you do that too.
So fun.
Can we talk about the fucked up nature then of an Instagram bio and how fucked up that actually is?
I can't even. Honestly, if you look at my Instagram bio, I'm like, like I think I actually say like I can't be defined by a bio, but if I had to, like it just annoys me. I'm really annoying like that, but that's me. Don't try and put me in a box.
I love it.
Even like the spiritual box, like I'm so spiritual, I'm so like woo-woo for lack of a better word, like I'm connected, I talk to spirits, I see aliens, I do all of that, but I am still going to wear my Gucci shoes and have a spicy margarita because that's who I am. I you don't have to fit a certain mold just because society tells you that that's the way that it is.
There is like the exhale that comes with being more of yourself. I have started, like probably in the last 2 months, really enjoying a glass of red wine by myself every evening as I wash the fucking dishes. It's like not even anything glamorous. It's like end of the day, wind down, celebrate that I have had another day here on this earth. I'm here in this home and loving it. And in years gone by, I probably would never have allowed myself to do that because I don't know, I had all sorts of story around what health should be and who I was. And I don't know, it just feels nice that I'm in this season of I call it like, it's just the exhale. It's just the softening. It's just the allowing.
Brilliant.
And the wine just seems to be just evidence of that for me in some way, Yeah.
It's ritual. It's your thing. It sounds awesome. And so I feel like we all go through lots of different mini ego deaths and all of that. And I had one probably about 2 months ago. Another one, it's like, hey, here we go again. And I wrote a poem randomly, like that was in my, like, I don't write poems, but I do like writing, but I randomly just wrote this poem. And the poem was about letting myself off the hook. And what I mean by letting myself off the hook sounds like your exhale season. Get rid of expectations. There's nothing I have to do. There's nothing you have to do. You don't have to reach a certain goal. You don't have to be a certain way. Like us just being on earth in this vibrational frequency is enough. And I've actually seen that from a multidimensional level, looking at energy. Us as humans, just being us, I know, when I say that I know that that is enough, because your body holds a vibrational frequency. My body holds a vibrational frequency. And just by being on earth, you're doing something to the grid around you and the people around you that is keeping the frequency and the harmony at bay on earth. So by you just being you, not manifesting, trying to do anything, by you just being here, it's enough. So we need to let ourselves off the hook.
There's that exhale. Yeah.
Everything else is just a bonus. Like everything else, we're just here to have fun. Have fun. If you can make an impact with the community and the people around you, do that as well. But the core of it, your vibrational frequency here on earth is doing more than your words or your actions could ever possibly do. Then you can't even imagine it. And I just felt so much pressure being released when I come back to remembering that we deserve to let ourselves off the hook.
Can you, for us, I think you're a perfect person to explain what it means when we're talking about different realities or different dimensions. Could you give a kind of a bridge for women that are curious about what that might mean for themselves?
I'll definitely try. So all the people listening, like, I am a bit of a freak in this area. So what I would describe it as, so I guess I see things as vibrational frequency, right? And this reality that we're living in, it's called a 3D reality, okay? So everything we can hear, taste, feel, touch in this reality is called a 3D reality. It's kind of like a radio frequency. So if you tune into a radio station, you can hear what's being played on that radio station. If you tune into a different frequency, you can tune into a different radio station. So they're both there. You just have to tune into one, right? So that's the same with different dimensions and frequencies on this planet. I want to just state there's no wrong or right. Going up doesn't necessarily mean that one is better than the other. It's just different. I might live on level 2, someone might live on level 11. Doesn't mean they're better than me. It just means we're on different levels. So 3D, you can go up to 4D, 5D, 6D, you go all the way up to 12D. And I have just become very good at tuning into different frequencies and seeing what is there. And there is many different frequencies, many different dimension levels that, like, if you have a dog, dogs can hear different sounds to what we can hear. They can probably see things. Children, they're more open to seeing different things than what we can. We're just so used to this 3D reality that we've forgotten how to tune into the rest. So that's kind of it. Does that make sense? I try so hard to bring it all together, but I think that's it.
I'd love to ask you a question about imagination, because I love talking about just the power, and I think the forgotten power of our own ability to just imagine. And My son, Tyson, he's almost 4. What's been really beautiful this last year has been he has been able to articulate his dreams to us. He's old enough to kind of like be able to tell us what he's dreaming about. And what I noticed that was so beautiful and so powerful was that there was a blur for him between what was occurring in reality, the real life, the awake life that we all experience together, and what he was dreaming. So he would ask me questions randomly. One of the things that I remember most was he said to me, Mummy, are you going to drive your red car today? And I don't have a red car. Like he was deadly serious. And I said to him, what, mate? What red car? And he said, the red car that goes really fast. And I realized, oh my God, he dreamt of me driving a red car. And for him in this moment, that was just as real as the white car that we drive together. And it gives me goosebumps every time I talk about it, because it made me realize how innately powerful we are and how our imagination actually truly at one point felt as real to us as the 3D that we could feel and touch and see. So I'd love you to speak on imagination if you could.
I love that. I love that. And I love that his world hasn't been tainted with 3D reality for us to say that's not real, this is real. It is real. It is real in another dimension somewhere. It was so real for him. And it probably does exist in another timeline somewhere that he can travel to. I believe if you can have a thought, it's energy. So think of it like, I call it a timeline. So say I think in my head, I want this red car, I want this red car, and I picture me driving this red car. That's out there. That thought is out there in the universe. It might not be in this 3D reality, but it's out there. And if I keep tuning into that, I can go to different dimensions to be in that reality, to exist in my red car. And humans, I feel, are so cocky, because we genuinely, a lot of us believe that it's just us. Like, we're so arrogant, like we're the only ones, blah, blah, blah. And there can't be other versions of dimensions and realities, which is imagination. That can't be real. What's real to us, that's it. Like, that's all it is, whereas it is real. We just have forgotten that it's real. And I guess I, believe in this so much because some would say I have a very big imagination. When I shut my eyes, I see everything in different dimensions like a movie. And I just explain what's going on. But it's so real and so vivid. I can't make it up on the spot. Like, I'm not that good of a storyteller. So it is real. Imagination is real. It's just our human ways that have been pushed into a narrative that everything that we see here, that's real, nothing else exists. But also I see every side to everything. So, but then there is people who don't believe in that, and that's okay too. I'm not sitting here saying all this, saying that everyone has to believe what I say, blah, blah, blah. This is my reality. This is my truth. This is my reality. And whatever it is for you, that's okay too. Like, who made the rule of what's wrong or right? And it's limitless. It's never ending. We will never really know. And it's ever changing. So that's what I mean. We just have to enjoy where we are now and let kids have an imagination and continue to have an imagination ourselves.
To play in that space, right?
Yeah, yes, exactly.
One last question that I'll ask you that I think will be supportive for a lot of the women that I know that will tune into this conversation. How do you find that you are able to relate to the people that you were just speaking of, the people that just kind of cannot tune into or see the world through a similar lens that you see it?
So my vibration of who I am And what I put out into the world is so strong that I don't have people like that in my life.
I love that answer so much.
Like, I just don't. And when I do, I'm just like, nah. Like I'm telling you, all of my friends, I have these conversations. Every single person in my life know me 100% for me. I don't falter in who I am. Yeah. It's that, and my boundaries are strong, and I follow my intuition with everything. Like, okay, I'll give you an example. So I went to the beach with a few people a couple of days ago, and there was an extra person there that I just wasn't vibing. And I knew I wasn't vibing. I didn't judge this person. I didn't, I just knew, because I could feel my body start to shut down. I could feel my body getting drained. I didn't let myself stay in the situation long enough to be fully affected by it. I'm that turned on by my surroundings. As soon as I started to feel it, I was like, yeah, no. And I, diverted. Zero judgments. You do you, but I just don't have people like that in my life.
You know what's really interesting about that, and that is so powerful. I love it, and I relate wholeheartedly to that. I remember times of my life when I would experience somebody like that I felt, I don't know, was just a bit off, or maybe didn't like me or whatever. It's almost like I would lean into that. And I want to get closer, and there would be somebody that I didn't necessarily like, but I felt like they didn't like me. And for whatever reason, it really bothered me that I felt like they didn't like me. So I would almost like try harder to get in a space that was never meant for me.
Totally.
And it's been really empowering to just, have those moments and feel the disconnect and just allow it to exist without trying to, I don't know, make it wrong in any way or understand it in any way.
But that would have been a lesson for you, right? Like, it took a while for me to get to this point too. And I wanted everyone to like me as well. Like I am the extreme version of someone with really good boundaries. Like, it took me a long time to get here. I would like to just add a disclaimer for the people listening. I was in a marriage, like I was in a partnership with someone for 14 years, and it was very controlling, and I was married, and I wasn't me at all. I was like just this Stepford wife robot. So for me to get to here, like, it took a lot. Like but it took the every morning checking in with myself, to get to this point. And this is why I'll say over and over again, I feel so me for the first time in a really long time. And this has been for like a good year and a half. And I just want other people to be them, however that looks. So this is why I preach this.
I fucking love it. We have big similarity. My first relationship was 11 years and I was married, and same thing. I feel like I'm not different now. I'm just more of who I have always been, in a way that just feels, I don't know, fully expressed is how I speak about it. One of the words that I don't like hearing from people when they talk about being more of themselves is to say that they're unapologetic about it, because I feel like the languaging of that, if I'm saying I'm being unapologetic, it almost perpetuates that there's something wrong in what I am doing, and I'm just refusing to apologize for that.
Totally. And I feel like that's a society thing, saying unapologetically, because like society put you in a place that you're not allowed to be yourself. Like, fuck that. Sorry. Fuck that.
This morning I was doing a little bit of like, I'm not a person that like journals every day, but like I just sometimes will just have like these thoughts that feel like things, and I like write it down in the notes of my phone. Let me pull it here actually.
Pull it up.
Just this morning. And I have written just 2 sentences, right? The inner rebel has been misunderstood. The inner rebel has been made to feel bad, naughty, dangerous. And I realized my inner rebel actually, I think, has been the wisest, kindest, most compassionate version of me. But she was made to feel like she was a rebel, but she's actually never been rebellious. She's just been different. She's just been
not contained.
Yes. And so I'm asking of myself potentially to not relate to her as a rebel in any way anymore, because the rebel always feels like she has to maybe, I don't know, be careful, or that she's going to be shut down, or that she's not allowed in some form or some expression or in some context. And so I'm excited for that. I was like, oh, I wonder how I can relate to the part of myself that I have named rebellious in a way that is more welcoming, more allowed, more free flowing in every context of my life.
Totally. And you know what that is? That's courage.
Mm. Mm.
Yeah.
Mm.
Absolutely.
Mm.
Amazing. I love that. Have you read The Women Who Run with Wolves?
Yes.
Yeah. Yeah, that kind of is going with the vibe, and I love that. Oh god, it's a real theme today. Even I heard Florence and the Machine's new song. It's called King, and I don't know if anyone hasn't heard it, but the words, they're about like, I am not a mother, I am not a bride. Like, don't contain me, basically. Like, I am king, I am everything. Like, I am the lot. Like, don't label me. I can change a million times a day, like a wild woman, but owning it and just not feeling guilty about it. Like, just being you. Yeah, it's interesting that this has come up a little bit today. I love it. I love it.
I'm like quietly freaking out right now, you know. In a big way, because I have said many times that I feel like source energy communicates to me through song lyrics. Like, it's just, yeah. I won't go into explaining all of that. But Florence and the Machine actually wrote a song called The Dog Days Are Over, I think it's called.
Love it.
Yeah, and that song was actually really powerful and really pivotal in some of the decisions that I made in my life. So for you to reference Florence and the Machine, to me right now feels fucking insane, to be honest. And so I'm just going to go ahead and ask, what else do you feel like is coming through to you as you today that is worth saying?
Well, let me have a look, because I always, every time I do a podcast, I always pick tarot cards before it, just to see what the themes will be. And, you know, the tarot cards I got were these. Okay. So 10 of Wands, 3 of Cups, and 3 of Wands. So 3 of Cups to me is community, it's sisterhood, and it's like celebrating women's power. And especially in this context. And then it's also like the 10 of Wands is about putting down your burdens. Like, you don't have to carry this anymore. You do not have to carry whatever it is you're carrying, expectations, the weight of the world, the way you think life should be. The world is all up in the air, and it's being shaken like this. It's being shaken like that so it can fall down completely to be rebuilt into something better. So what we can do, we can look in our own lives and shake it up as much as we can. And I feel like the couple of years that we've all had, it has been shaken up. And I feel like people's priorities are different now. People understand what they want in life. People know what's important. And I believe it's just an opportunity to really, 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 really live like that. And then taking it back to what you said at the start about community and, you know, showing up in your community and for the people around you, by you being you, that alone, as I said, it's going to do more for the grid and the people around you than you can even imagine. So show up, have the courage every day to check in with yourself and keep doing it. Just be consistent. Be consistent. Check in yourself like you check in with your own child or a pet or your partner, whatever it is. Like, check in with yourself the way you do to other people, so then you know where you're at. You are constantly in dialogue with yourself about what you need, what you don't need, what you want to do, what you don't want to do. Then you're showing up as your authentic self. You're attracting the right people. You're changing the vibe around you. You're just doing things, and it's just all working all mushy and smoothly, and we can rebuild our own little worlds and our own little communities to be something stronger and better than we've ever had before.
Thank you. Molly, how can people get in touch with you? I know you are currently offering session times for oracle readings. Do you want to touch on that a little bit and tell us where we can get in touch with you and how we can do that?
Yeah. So I am doing oracle sessions at the moment. I didn't want to do it. I really didn't. I tried so hard to be like, I'm like, nah, I'm not doing it. And like, it just got stronger and stronger and stronger. And now it's funny, like I only offer a couple of sessions a week, but the people who are getting through, they're just the most epic people. And by just aligning their spiritual bodies just a tiny little bit, like the vibration and the impact that they're having on earth by just being them is just so profound. And I just know it's of service. I have to do this. I have to do this right now until I don't anymore, you know? So, yeah, so I announced my sessions on my Instagram page, which is MollyJane. If you feel called to do it, you can look at mollyjane.com and have a look at what's there. But yeah, that's me for right now. And we'll just do it for as long as we need.
What is the most supportive thing that we can do for you right now, Molly? Because I know everybody listening will have appreciated your energy and your offering today. So what can we do for a little give back immediately for you?
Take the time for yourself every day. I'm here for the bigger picture. I understand my bigger mission. I see all layers. Me having businesses, doing Wellweb, doing, you know, Bloom, doing oracle sessions, doing all of that. That's all fun, and it'll shapeshift a million other times. I'll have more businesses. I'll be doing this. I'll be doing that. And that's fun, and I will continue to do that. But my biggest mission is to be a mirror to help people remember who they truly are. So then the whole world can be vibrating how it's meant to be vibrating. So whoever's listening to this, what you can do for me is just take some time for you.
Listen to her, people. Do it, do it, do it.
Listen to me. Or don't. It's all perfect.
No, but really do it.
Like, it'd be fun. Yeah.
Molly, thank you so much for just your essence and your everything today. I really just appreciate you taking the time to do this. So many women out there say that they support women and that they are of service and that they are contributing, but only when it suits them and only if they feel like it's going to position them in a place that they want to be. And I know the here and the now for you could have been neither here or there. So I appreciate that you actually activated a yes for yourself and for me and for every woman that is connected to me through this conversation.
And the reason I get to this point is because I work on myself every day. And if something's a yes, it's a yes. And if something's a no, it's a no. It's as simple as that. So, you know, as I said, the right people are in my space. It's just, and you came in, it's a yes.
I love it.
Yes.
And if you are listening to this today, I just want to remind you, as I always remind you, to believe and trust and have full faith that you would not be magnetized to something that didn't have something in it for you. There was something here today that was specifically designed to land for you right now. So I encourage you to just, even if you can't logically comprehend anything that we've said in this beautiful conversation, just feel into it. Just feel the way that it lands for you. Feel where it sits in your body. Feel what it's opening or releasing or guiding you towards, and know that you are so worthy and so wonderful. And I thank you for taking the time to connect with us.